Well, give up your gun or get out. That was the demand from the managers of a public housing complex for seniors in Colorado. They didn't want residents to keep any guns in their apartments. The managers backed down after a TV news report on this controversial move, but it does raise questions about what kinds of restrictions landlords can legally put on their tenants. So on our legal panel today is attorney Andell Brown and Meg Strickler, a criminal defense attorney. Welcome to both of you. Okay, so this was an apartment complex in it's called Castle Rock, Colorado, and there was this retired Marine. He's 77 years old. He is a hunter, and he has always kept a gun in his apartment. And the apartment complex told him that he was going to have to get out. I mean, virtually be homeless, move on if he wanted to continue to keep his gun. Andell, did they have any sort of legal right to demand that?
They absolutely did not. It's outrageous that they would try to violate his Second Amendment rights like this. He's 77 years old. He's fought for this country. He's done his service, and they want him to choose between having a home and his right to bear arms and protect himself in his home. They had no right to do this. Furthermore, that property was constructed with federal money, and it's illegal to prohibit legal gun ownership on government-funded property. They were all wrong on this one.
Meg, here's what the apartment complex basically says they were thinking in terms of context. This is Colorado. Colorado has obviously done a lot of soul searching after the Aurora movie theater massacre, and the complex wanted it to be a gun-free zone. Do the landlords or the owners of any apartment building not have the right to make their own place a smoke-free zone or a kid-free zone or a gun-free zone?
They do, and when it's a private property owner, there are more rights to contract and to lease with the people that are leasing from them. Think about it. When any of us have had an apartment, we had to negotiate the right to have a pet, to have many roommates or whatever. And so there are rights that we're allowed to do in a contract and in a lease. And so what they should have done here is give some more notice. They gave until October. And what muddies the water here is, just like Dell said, this was federal tax money. This makes it a little bit different than if it's a private lease. So I think the Ross Management Company does both private companies and public companies. But please understand that when it's a private company, they have plenty of rights to change and modify their lease, and probably even put subjects in their leases saying, hey, we can make changes in the future if we give you notice. What's different here, and like I said, muddies the water, is that public housing is different. It's federally funded. Okay. But please also notice that there are already things on the Second Amendment that allows us to restrict things in public housing, in public areas, just not all of public housing.
Andell, do you agree that if this were purely a private operation, that they could trump the Second Amendment in that way by saying that nobody could own guns?
They couldn't totally trump it, but they're allowed to make reasonable restrictions on their residents. And in a case like this, you would have to balance that Second Amendment right with their ability to do free enterprise and make the decision on how they want their tenants to live. Unfortunately, in this case, he was already living there. He already had a lease. He already had an agreement, and they're trying to change the terms midstream, and that's just wrong.
And we should also let everybody know that I believe, Meg, that just late yesterday, the Community Housing Board there in Colorado held a meeting and said that the apartment could not unilaterally decide to do this. So it sounds like apartment buildings that attempt to do this do meet with some legal challenges.
Correct. They do. And what's interesting is that they reacted too quickly and didn't give this man enough notice. They gave him till October, which is only 2 months away. So you should take these changes, especially when it's the federal government dollars involved, and do it slow and have the bureaucracy and then the case law follow up with it so that it does correct constitutional muster and pass muster.
Got it. It is an interesting case to examine for that reason. Andell Brown, Meg Strickler, thanks so much for your expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you.